All right, we are live. All right, so I am going to pick back up where I left off on this site. I've added a couple little things like these little button hovers, and I went ahead and added this stagger that's just using native GSAP interactions for that. And then if we head down here, I actually upgraded the slider a little bit to use the parallax slider from Modin, just because I wanted a smoother dragging experience in this case. And I put one cursor dot over the entire section instead of having each card having its own cursor. And added this little state where you can click and hold to press and scale it down. So that's working out pretty well while you're dragging. And then I want it mobile to still look pretty nice and not just feel like a neglected experience. So one thing that was missing on mobile was the image parallax following your cursor. That's something that's really nice on desktop. So the way that I brought that back in was just on mobile. There's a bit of a parallax on devices that don't support touch, and it looks like it's. I'm not sure if it's coming across through here. So I might have to actually test that part on an actual device. And then another thing I did is if you press and hold, it will actually switch to the to that version as well on mobile. And I added a little transition delay to that. So that is working pretty good. We're gonna continue on with the rest of this, but I think this is working pretty good. Let me go ahead and just mute this tab. Another thing that I was able to do was just get this working with a YouTube video. So when I press play, it plays the YouTube video underneath. And if I were to pause that YouTube video, it comes back in with the overlay. And if it is playing and I scroll out of view, it'll just kind of stop it like that. So it's not just playing when it's out. So that part is working pretty good as well. I just got Claude to write that part. Basically, I needed a link block in here. So I have that somewhere in here. And that's just to connect it to a component prop to store that video URL. But then the actual video itself is all being generated with JavaScript using the YouTube player JavaScript. That way we can run some code when the YouTube video pauses, trigger the YouTube video to play, and everything like that. Another thing that so the way I built this button at first was to actually just animate its width and height when we hover in. So that way it kind of pushes the text out of the way. And the issue I had with that was the button was actually growing to be larger on hover. And then I tried giving it like a min width, but then some of this text is just really large, so that doesn't work either. So let me bring this back over here. Okay, so what I ended up doing here was the button is just always there. It always has its width. There's always a gap between the text and the button there. But what I'm doing is just sliding this text over here. So let's go ahead and just switch that over to 0 for now, just so we can see. So the text is normally like this. It's just off to the side, and that leaves that gap between the arrow and the text. And then I just slide that text over by the gap amount, which I believe is 0.5. No, it's actually 1 rem in this case. And then the icon is 0.5. So the total amount is 1.5. And then I found that I had to divide that by 2. And that gives me the 0.75 so that the text is perfectly centered by default. And when we hover, the text just pushes over. So that is happening right there. Okay. And then I had these dot patterns positioned absolute to the whole section, and it was at the top of the section. And what I found on mobile is they were just too high up. And also it was hard to just make the space responsive. So what I did instead was make the dots now relative. So they're no longer in the background slot. They're just directly in the container, and they have a default height and position. That way they are occupying the space, and I don't have to have like an extra spacer div or anything like that. I also removed the background image on those repeating dots because they were just getting way too small on mobile. So now I actually have a row of dots like this, which means it can't grow tall to fill up the entire section, which was kind of the trade-off there. Um, but I think overall it's worth it. So let's see. Yep, and so this is working good now. Someone asked in the chat last time, I noticed a question saying, how do you get the arrow to still be draggable when it's over a slider? Because usually when you're dragging the slider, the cursor kind of freezes up. And the way to do that is to use pointer move instead of mouse move, because swiper is attached to mouse move already. So by using the pointer move event, it'll still work even when it's on top of a swiper. So let's go ahead and just get started on some of these next sections. This time I actually have the fonts downloaded, and I've added a bunch of stuff to the CMS, so I'm not having to spend too much time on that. I'm going to skip over to this section because I'm really curious if Claude is going to be able to handle it, and I'm just curious to see how it comes out. So let's go ahead and just drop in a section. Let's go ahead and add in a heading. Actually, I'm going to use a layout component. I'll drop a heading inside this side, and inside the other column, we'll go ahead and add a paragraph and a button wrapper and a button element. And I'll go ahead and switch this layout over to the auto width version, which basically means on wider screens, it should be able to just make these elements go side by side. I might have to reduce the max width to actually make space for it to do that. Yep. But then it can kind of do that, which is what I want. And then I'll go ahead and copy this text and throw it in here, still in H2. For whatever reason, the way I was copying text last time completely removed the tags, which is not good. So this seems to be working better. This isn't connected to a font style, so I'm not quite sure what style it is, but it does look larger, so I might switch that over to an H1, and I might just kind of do something like that. And then we'll go ahead and just copy this, and we'll paste that right in there. And then that should wrap right about where it's wrapping now, so that's fine. The hover on these icons. Let's see. There is no hover state on these. So we'll just need to figure out, I mean, I could do like a simple color change for the text link version. I believe our default Lumos text link is just an underline, and then the underline moves on hover. So if I were to just check that out, yeah, and it's a little broken now that I animated the button transform. I would need to remove that. Okay, so let's just see. I think we'll build that variant out a little bit better. So let's first of all, can I just remove this for a second? And that way I can detach this on this variant, and then I can add that back on. Cool. And then there's this line element, which I don't think we're going to need on any of these really. So I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and delete that underline, and because that was only used for the link variant. On the link variant, there is a bottom border, which we also will not need. So that can go away across the board. Looks like it's good. And then this needs to be probably a little bit more bold. So I can just do that on this variant here. So I'm going to go with weight medium. That looks good. Add that back on. And then the arrow's already in there. So really all I need to do is on this variant, I need to remove the opacity, because the opacity was connected to a hover variable. So that way though, it's always there. And I think I set up a conditional to make sure this arrow does not render on the link. So I actually need to remove that now, because we want the arrow to be across all variants, and that's good. And then the default gap between them, hard to tell, but let's just draw out square, something like that. It's about 11 pixels, so that would be, what is that? 11, something like that. And then what else? I think that's pretty much good. Maybe this could be a little bit larger. What I'll do is I'll just pull this over here, and go ahead and just, let's see, where's my outline stroke? Missing it here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so the width on this one is 9, which if we check out the width in here, so it is just like a little bit wider on the link variant. So that is fine. We'll leave that there. So then we just need to come up with a hover for this. I already have a text link inside of themes here. So basically, one thing I'm thinking is just change the text color to blue on hover, or we could just move the icon out. I might go with the icon approach for now, and then we'll figure it out from there. So this already has a transition on it. So all I had to do is add a transform, and then I can do translate X, and then we'll just add a calc, and we'll move it out 1 rem, and we'll turn that off by default. And I'll just make sure that's set to off like so. And that way when I hover, it just kind of slides out by 1 rem. Let's go a little bit smaller. Let's go 0.5. Just something really simple. I might adjust that later, but for now, that's fine. And let's go ahead and just update this. And let's do that. And one thing, I think this is supposed to be aligned to bottom, and this, I believe, is centered align. No, oh, never mind. It actually is bottom align, so that's perfect. Cool. And then, so now I'll just set up the cards. So let's go ahead and set those up. So what I'll do here, I think I'm going to have will be a collection list. Possibly a custom. We'll start with a custom component. I like to just, since I'm not sure all the elements I'm going to need, I'll start with a div. And this is for ministries. So this can be ministries. Let's go ahead and set that here. Ministries wrap. And then I'll go ahead and drop a collection list. And let's go ahead and drop in from the nav links collection, and we'll go ahead and filter it down to be the category is ministries, and apply the sort order like so. And then this can be my ministries CMS wrap, and then this is CMS list, and then this is CMS item. And let's go ahead and start with a grid here. So I'm going to do probably a uGrid custom on this. So we'll do uGrid custom like that. And we'll go ahead and set it to be, I'll do this on the base class, but I'll set it to be a 3-column grid. And we'll set a default gap. It's going to be really small. It's hard to tell because it's actually using padding here, but it looks like just a 2-pixel gap. So let's go ahead and set that here. I might need to save that as a variable if we decide to use it anywhere else, that 2-pixel gap, but for now we'll do that. Maybe I should just pull one of these over and detach. So here we are looking at 16. So I'll probably do that in the card itself. And then responsiveness wise, I want to go to like a 2-column, then a 1-column. So that would have to happen on the list element here. And for that, actually, you know what? We'll remove this here, and we'll add our grid template columns in here. Actually, they're already here. So basically, like, we can just tell it in here to repeat 3 times, like so. Gonna open that up from here. So basically, I'm just gonna set my own responsive settings in here. So I'll say 3 on desktop on large screens, and then I want to go 2 on the medium screens, and I want to use 1 on the small screen. And we'll also do +1 on the extra small screen, like that. Okay, let's see. So now we have 3, and if I go down to tablet, nope. Where? Oh, it's because I'm not in a container currently. Let me wrap this in a quick U container, U dash container. There we go. Okay. So we're on desktop, then we go to tablet and we get 2, we go to the next one and we get 1, and we go here and we get 1 as well. So that's good. Cool. And then after that, I think I'll set this up as a component, a card component. So let's go ahead and should I set this up as a component? It's really only used in this one spot. I think for now I'll build it open. I can always turn it into a component later, but I'll just build it statically. So let's go ahead and drop this in. This is going to be ministries card underscore wrap. We always set the outer element here is not where we apply our color or our padding or anything. It's always on an inner element. So this is ministries card element. And that just allows you to put the card in a slider or add container queries to this outer element, and then the inner element can be the thing that gets affected. So that's usually what we want. For now, I'm going to set a white background color, but I'm going to end up removing that background color. So this is background 2, and we'll go ahead and do radius main, and we'll go ahead and throw some quick padding on there of space 5, and we'll go ahead and do the text elements. So these should probably be H3s. We'll do ministries card title. We'll connect it over to the CMS. And so here, this is where it gets interesting because I want to line breaks. And let's make sure that this will set the item to flex stretch like that. And that way the card can be with 100%. Okay, so what I want to do is wrap their max width all in very specific places, and I think what it will do is pull up the max and do, let me try min dash content, and so that'll wrap it to where each word is on one line, but then I'm going to have issues here, so that might be, I could create a CMS field where I manage the max width for each one independently, but that just feels like overkill. I noticed a question in chat. What browser am I using? I am using Dia. It's the browser by the company who made Arc. Let's see. Yeah, I need to figure out a way to get this to just 2. What can I do? Yeah, I'll have to figure that out because I really don't want to do a CMS field for each one, but that might be my only option. So I could do max content, or I can do min content. Okay, I'll figure that out. And then another thing I need to do is let's go ahead and do custom elements. Let's go ahead and set this to an H3. Let's go ahead and give it the class of this here, and then let's go ahead and drop another custom element inside, and let's make that a span, and let's connect that span to the text like so, and then that will allow me to have another custom element span inside that is just a space and an up arrow right here, which I'll just copy that, paste that in. That does not look the same, so I don't know if the font family is not right or something. Yeah, it's a different font family for its enter for that one. Let's see if I can, we'll do ministry card arrow. I could always export it as an SVG too if we need, but let's just see if I can just switch the family real quick. I don't think I would have to upload enter, and I'm not going to import an entire font family just for one icon, so I'll make that an SVG. But basically, this span needs conditional visibility to only show up if the external link field is set, and that way it only shows up for these two. Let's go ahead and just take this over. Nope. Yeah, that's fine. Sure. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and outline stroke. And then we can take this one and copy as SVG and then delete. And then let's go back over here. Let's go to SVG import. Let's go ahead and paste that in. And we'll say ministry card arrow. Let's see, I already have that class, so I'll just throw that on there. Delete this one. Let's add our conditional back on. Nice. And then let's go ahead and set this. So the key here is we want to set the width using EM, and that way it's based on the font size of the element. And then what we want to do is set this to inline block. Or we can even try, I don't think inline's what we want, but I'll try, nope. Okay, let's see, and this span is already inline, so that should be good. You know what, there might be, what's going on here? There might be some default styling applied to SVGs that I need to clear. Let's see, let's inspect. Let's go, let's remove that for a second. Here we are. Okay, so overflow hidden, not a problem. It is inline block, so that's fine. There is a max width that shouldn't cause us any issues. Yeah, I think that's, what is going on there? Let's see. Why won't it work? Inline? It could be too that these elements are just so, the text is so large. Oh, you know what it is? It's this. This is the problem. Whoops. Okay. Yep, it was the max width that was causing it. So something that I do, and it should already be on, there's a text wrap balance. That should be fine. Let's see, let's back that down a little bit, something like that. And then let's give it some margin to push it over a bit. The only problem with that is if it does happen to wrap, then the arrow isn't aligned to the left anymore because of that margin. So you get this like awkward space right there. So I think what I should do is add margin to this instead. And that way I don't have to worry about that issue so much. So I can just kind of push it over a little bit like so. Cool. Yep. And now that should be good. All right, so what we're going to do, let's go ahead and turn this into a component. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. This will be a group of CMS, which I need there. Ministries here, and CMS, create. Let's copy it, and let's go ahead and paste it in. Let's open this back up. Cool. All right, paste that in there. Nice. Okay. Just looking at the chat real quick. Noah said he's still rocking Arc. How's Dia? Dia is good. It has its quirks, but overall it's pretty good. Oh yeah, I think Noah called out the min content that was causing that issue. I should have just checked chat earlier. You guys are on top of it. Cool. Let's see. All right, so I think that is it for now. So what I want to do here is there's going to be this background element, which I'll just go ahead and set, for instance, a gradient here. Why not? Just to demonstrate. And then what we want to do here is the cards themselves are going to have a transparent background. And then what we do is we add a shadow here, box shadow, and we make it solid. And we do solid white, and we do no blur and no offset. And then we just increase the size a bit. Let's see, how do we do that? Because that is going outside of it. Do I need to do position relative, overflow, clip? No, there's a way to do this. It might be because let me just retry it on let me retry it on the item, just maybe in case it has to be like the outer element. I don't think it does, but let's see. Box shadow, we'll do size. We'll do, see, it's still going inside the card. It's not supposed to do that. Solid, no blur. Let's see. Is it not box shadow? Is it a different one? It might be under filters. No, drop shadow. That's going on the text. What is it? Help me out here, y'all. Does anyone remember the way to do that? Cool. Let's go. So it's normally box shadow, and should keep the shadow on the outside of the cards while not going inside of it. But I'm not seeing that for some reason. I could just throw a blending mode on if I had to, but I would like to avoid that. Backdrop filter, no. I don't think it matters if it's position relative or not, but we can try. Maybe it needs position relative and a z-index. Is that the issue? Let's add that back on. Let's go solid. Let's go 0 blur, and let's increase this quite a bit. Nope, it's not that. Is it not the size? Well, when in doubt, turn to good old Claude. How to make a shadow that goes inside my cards but not outside of it. Cards have a transparent background. See what Claude says. You want an inset shadow. Okay, so maybe that's the part I'm missing. Make the shadow really large and a solid color with no blur. Let's see if that will do it. Cool. So let me just try that. I wonder if I can add box shadow under here. In custom properties, sure can. Cool. So that's doing the opposite. That's going, wait, why is that going inside? That's going inside the card. I want it to go outside the card. Let's see. Whoops, did I say it wrong? I must have gave the wrong instructions. So then they said just use a regular box shadow, but that's what I was already trying. Overflow hidden, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I was missing the overflow hidden part. Let's try that real quick. Let's go 0, 0, 2, overflow hidden. Nope, that does not seem to be doing it. Just for good measure, I'll copy this version. But this was my game plan to tackle that layout, was to just fill in the outside of it with shadows, but I don't know if that's going to work now. If not, we can do the border approach like what was done in Figma. I just would really like the shadow approach. And the only issue with borders is trying to fill in this empty space here in the middle would be interesting. How do we do that? All right, let's just restart here. Okay, so I'll try with a border for now. So let's go ahead and remove that. Let's go back to I'd like to do this on the card. So let's go ahead and add a border of 2 pixels, and then we'll go ahead and add a theme background there, and we'll go ahead and just take this out. So the gutter should be 0. Come on, like that. Nice. And to trim out the outside, all I would have to do is just give this a radius of my border radius like so, an overflow clip, and that would cut off the outer corners right there, but then I still need to be able to punch out these inner parts, um, which I could do with SVGs. It just doesn't seem super clean. There's got to be a way to do this. I'm just not I'm not understanding it. Use inner shadows instead of outer shadows should work. So I need to just keep up with the chat. The problem is the chat is delayed. So when I'm working through something, I'm not seeing your responses right away. I think, okay, let me try inner shadow like was suggested. Box shadow inside. Thank you for that because I was not sure. I knew there was a way to do it. It just, no blur. Let's try, oh, no, not quite. Outside, kind of with outside. Yeah, kind of. Well, one thing I could do, set this to 2 pixels. Just make it smaller. But I mean, that's not really filling up the corners either, though. So that's not. Outside, inside. Add the overflow hidden on it just in case it had anything to do. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to come back to this, I'm sure, and be like, oh, it was just something so simple that was missing. What can I do to fill in those pieces then? I can do, might just have to look at some kind of inset clip path or something. What was, we just did that the other day. Inset clip path. I don't think this will solve it though. If we could do like the reverse of this, it would solve it. Is shape outside? What is that one? Let me try that real quick. What would that do? Shape outside. Let's see. Is there any way to invert and inset clip path? Because that's really what we want, but I don't know if there is. Nope, no native way. Drop shadow on the clip path wrapper, simplest. That's what I just tried. Filter drop shadow, I did not try. Maybe that's the one. Let's see. Filter drop shadow. I cannot apply filter drop shadow. Filter drop shadow here. Let's see. It's just applying it to the text though. And it's not really what we want. It would have to be on like a solid element or something, I guess. I don't know. They're talking about using SVGs with a clip path, which I mean, I don't think that would work with heights, cards that are varying heights. Mask, maybe a mask. But I don't know how you would set rounded corners. Content box. Let's see. So basically what we're trying to do, see if I can get this to load, is we want these dots to be able to travel across cards. So I want the cards to have no background color, but there needs to be little pieces in between them, like so. Yeah, there needs to be like something blocking in between. So I think, what can I do? Linear gradient content wrapper. I know the I know it's something simple, so that's why it's bugging me. But instead of just getting hung up on this for now, I might come back to that part and we'll just work on seeing if we can get like the trailing particle circle thingy to work. Um, let's see. Because I would like to just kind of, let's see, can I open QuickTime? Screen record. All right, let's just record this real quick. Just record them trailing behind the cursor and then stop it and then scrub to a part where it's really obvious like that. And then screenshot it and then give that to Claude and be like, let's see. Let's do that. I want to have these circles trailing behind my cursor in a canvas where the circles closest to my cursor are the smallest. All right, let's see if we can get that going. Noah said, why not have an instance of the particles inside each card? Honestly, that might be the better option. I wasn't sure if the particles are generated randomly, if the particles right here might not exactly match the particles in the next card to make it look seamless, but that might not be an issue. I might just be overthinking that part. But I was hoping to just have one big set of particles in the background. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, except that the particles should disappear over time and new particles are created each time I move my mouse. Let's see. It's funny how it doesn't know intent. If we could just upload like a video file of the interaction, that would be nice. Maybe the solution is uploading multiple screenshots or something. This is already kind of cool. It's just like it's one big snake, though. It needs to be. Let's just see if it can get that right. And I also don't want them to be transparent, so we'll figure that out when we get to it. That's better, but it's just they need to be more scattered and less overlapping. Make the particles more scattered, less overlap, a bit smaller, and not transparent. But this is already interesting. Pretty cool. Pretty cool demo. And then I'm going to want it to connect to CSS variables. So I'll need to find a way to connect that up too. That way it can pull from a variable. All right, this is, it added like a little black. Still not quite what I want though. I mean, it's getting closer. Remove the black dot. Make the particles follow my cursor a little more, a little less random. I know I told it to be more random in the last one, but now it's just like they're a little too scattered. So I want it to feel like a trail, which it kind of does, but and they all need to be one color. Um, they need to be one color and feel more like a trail. That's getting a little bit better. Uh, make them all one color. Make it look like a trail. So I feel like in this example, the dots didn't really move. I like that they're still moving here after you keep going, but I think I would like them to move towards the direction of the cursor. I think that's the thing. Instead of just floating off randomly, make them all one color, make it look like a trail where uh, the dots are moving, or I guess motion wise, they would be trying to think if like something was moving and it was dropping it was dropping dots off. Maybe they would be floating away, like the wind is pushing them back or something. So, hmm, make them all one color. Make it look more like a trail where dots are. I think lagging is just going to be the best word. Lagging behind the cursor. Let's see. Yeah. Cool. Let's try that. This entire live stream is about to be just me chatting with Claude. Sorry, everyone. Just going back and forth. Um, let's see. Oh man, it kind of, but no. Um, actually, this is maybe the closest it's been, but it took all the randomness away. Um, the last dots in the list need to disappear sooner. And I'm gonna keep going back and forth on this, but and there can be a little more randomness. Just a little. I don't know how else to explain that, but it's like they're a little too perfect now. But this is definitely like they're all moving in the direction that I want them to go in. The last ones need to disappear sooner. Um, so I mean, yeah, it's getting there. It's just a matter of, yeah. The way this one was made is there's like Stu created hundreds of little dots, and when you hover each dot, it gets larger. So the dots aren't actually moving away; they're just getting larger, and then they're eventually shrinking down on a timer. So that's how that's made. I think here it would be nice if they kind of follow you a little bit, uh, but it's just it feels a little weird. It's not. I think we were maybe closer with the other one. Um, yeah, because it's not creating new dots. That's the issue. Is it's just pulling these existing dots along. So um, it needs to be creating new dots when I move my cursor, and the old ones should disappear. All right. Let's see. Let's check out how this was made, because that might give me some inspiration. Oh, you know what? It's probably the yeah, I think the corners are probably solid in these cards, and it's probably lots of little dots inside each card, which works if there's no randomness involved. But the second that there's randomness, I'm not sure it'll line up if I create multiple canvases inside each card. Let's see. That's feeling a little bit better. The problem is if my cursor stays in one place for too long, it creates this giant glob. But this is the closest it's been, I think, to what I actually wanted it to be. It's just a matter of getting a little bit more randomness in there, and also like the dots. closest to my cursor should be smaller, and add a little more randomness in. This is looking great and much closer to what I need. All right. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, the problem with the approach too of when the dots, if you had created a little dots and when you hover that dot, it grows, is this actually needs to be a link block on top, this entire card, and that link needs to be clickable. So I do need like the canvas approach where it can detect the canvas even through a link. So that is going to be, this is actually, I don't mind this too much. I mean, I do wish it was a little bit more, maybe if the particles were a little smaller or something, but I do like the randomness. I'm really liking how they dissolve at the end of the trail. That's nice. I'm liking how small they are towards by my cursor. So that's cool. Maybe I'm afraid to change anything. Let me just copy that so I don't lose that version. Make the dots a little smaller, add a little more dots. I want them to fill more of the screen. It might go a little too wild, so that's why I want to copy this version as a fallback, but I think that's fine for now. Let's just see if it. Oh, Noah said I'd tell Claude to generate less dots. That might be what it needs, honestly. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this feels more elegant to me is to have smaller ones because I think they were just too large. I do see the idea of having less dots is probably good, maybe. Yeah. Let's do. Okay, dots are now smaller, spawn twice as fast. So the question is, do we want them to just maybe not spawn as fast? Maybe that's the equivalent of having less. And live longer so they linger more. Live longer, is that a good thing? I think maybe. I don't know. I don't know. For now, I'm just kind of want this to. Let's see. Let's say, what's the HTML of this looking like? There is a canvas, and use JS to get the font color of the canvas and apply that as the color of the dots, because then I can just apply that Webflow variable to the font color of the canvas tag and have it automatically brought in without me having to do too much work on that end. In chat, box sizing, content box, overflow hidden, transparent background, box sizing, content box, no border radius, and have the other divs on top. I might need a second to understand that comment. Maybe the solution is for the cards to do some sort of frame in the SVG. Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be a way to do it. All right, automatically, this is when they're solid, color is looking much better. One of their original versions of the design had them in the solid blue, and I think I want to go back to that version just because it feels more impactful. Like the black text works on top of the solid blue, so I think that's totally fine. But let's see. Um, yeah, I think we're just gonna import it, and we'll see where it goes. So I'm gonna go modin.club/html, and I'll just paste that in, convert over to Webflow, and then just throw that in there. So this is my canvas, and let me go ahead and put that in this element here, paste it in, and let's go ahead and make the canvas here ministries canvas, and let's position it absolute to the full parent. I actually don't know if this is going to work with the elements like the links and stuff on a higher z-index, so that might be one thing I had to go back into Claude for. But let's just see what that does. Let's give it a U. Let's go embed JS, and what is in the CSS? Some styling on the canvas tag, which I can fix on my end, styling on the body, which I do not need. So that can go away. This is already applied. Let's just see what is happening here. So if I go back down here, this is working kind of. And it's actually working even though there's text on top, which is promising. So now it's just a matter of making sure the canvas can work at any size. I think that's the issue. The canvas should be able to work at any size. I'm going to have it within a container and have different CSS units applied for the sizing. Let's just see, and then I can do, where is the canvas is right here. I can switch that over to heading accent. I can go ahead and remove the ugly gradient and can preview that. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be nice, I think. Let's go ahead and set that back to a background 2. That way we get it a little closer to what we're looking for. If it just wasn't for those pesky little parts right there. I know I can fill that in. And also this is not perfectly synced with my cursor position, so maybe it was assuming that the canvas would be fixed. I don't know if that's what it's assuming, but let's go ahead and just run it back through. Let's go ahead and paste that in here, and really, oh man, it gave me a canvas container class that I do not want. Is that used anywhere in the JS? Just the canvas tag, ID tag. Yeah, I don't think that is needed or used. Hopefully not. So let's just, and this has just an ID of canvas on it. That's how it works. CSS is just a bunch of stuff in here. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back in here. Let's go right into this part. There we go. And I think I can just replace the JS with a new one. Oh, did I not copy it? Oh no, I did not copy the JS. Here we are, copy, delete, open, paste, save. And then if this, as long as this still has the same ID, canvas, yep, ID, cool. Let's see, nope, it is not working at all now. So, undo, oops, redo. Let's do fresh import here, and let me just see what's going on. So if I can just go ahead and drop that in there, and let's just preview it. Nope. Oh, wait. Oh, that's the old one. Oh, you know what? But this canvas is going to be causing issues. So let's go ahead and just remove that and remove that ID for a minute. And then let's see. There we go. Okay, so this one works. It's just a matter of, will it work even if it's outside of the canvas container is the question. Ministries canvas. Let's go ahead and give it, remove the position absolute for a minute and just give it a height for now so I can just kind of test that. And so let's go ahead and just throw a quick background color on it. Yes, so this still works even. Okay, so then why did it not work before? Let's delete the CSS. Let's see. Nope, still works. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong before, but this is what we need. So let's go back in here. Let's paste that in there. Let's go right there. Bring this up, delete that, and then that is good there. This can have the JS class. This can be no background color and absolute again to cover height, like so. Let's just see what that does. Nope. Okay, so my guess is that it's a z-index issue. So let's just make it, let's just put it on top of everything and see if it works. Yes, it does. So this needs to work even if there's HTML on top of the canvas. Let's just see. It's funny, it was working in the previous iteration, and then let's see. See what that does. Comments in chat say, what if you use box shadow for cards with the background color? Blur 0 and turn on overflow hidden. I think that's what we tried before. Actually, someone else said, I think an overflow hidden, no border radius on the parent div, then outside box shadow. Outside box shadow. Yeah, I'll have to test that out. Let's see. Okay, this is maybe gonna work. Paste it in. Run it through here. I think really all I need, unless they changed any IDs and stuff, all the IDs are still the same. I really just need the JS and it should be fine. So let's throw that in there. Let's go ahead and move this back down to a lower Z index and see if that works. Come on, let's test it. No. Why did it not work? ID is canvas. This is the JS because it started using the container. So it's using the container for something, I think because it needs the parent. Let's just undo that for a second. Where did it put the container? Yeah, it put it on the parent div. So let's redo. Can't redo. All right, delete. Okay, so basically what we need then is to put that there and then give this the ID of container. And then we should be good to put this back on a lower Z index. And let's try it. Let's see. Okay, so now we're good. Now we are cooking. Okay, so what I want this to do is work with multiple instances. So that's where I would kind of just do like this. So basically we'd have the component, and then we would have the canvas. All right. And then let's, we can save this, that's fine. Use this JS format, and then run script here. That's good. The component is my new container. Here's the old JS. Let's just get it to update the JS to use the right, like, the loop and stuff. So it's going to refactor it and work with multiple instances. There's all the JS inside of it, so I'm just going to have to pull that part out. Let's see. I'll switch that over to the HTML. Cool. And then let's just pull this piece out all the way from the open to the closing script tag. And now we should have an interaction that works with multiple instances of the component. Save that, delete the old one, pull that down. Cool. And just make sure everything is still working correctly, and it is. Okay. Cool. Let's just see. All right, so I think I'll have to figure out the outline part. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just build out the rest of this card real quick. So let's go ahead and do, this is the title. Then we'll have a paragraph, and this is going to be the text. And we'll go ahead and connect that to the description. And this is going to be text style main or small. Let's see what is being used here. It looks like it is small. So text style small. All right. And then we'll go ahead and just throw some, oops, I don't have a class on this for font size, huh? What font size is it? It is an H4. Let's add that on. H4. Looks like it should be a lot larger than that, but maybe not. Let's add that bottom space on. And then we have these little arrows that slide out like so. I think I'm just going to make a variant of the text link component. So let's go ahead and drop a div. This is ministry card content. This will go in there and in there. And then we'll go ahead and just drop a text link component, or it's button component, but with the text link variant, like so. And then we'll go ahead and just do flex like so, and add a little bit of a gap like that, and space between. Make sure this is full width. And how do we set the sizing on this? I think it's okay like that. Just let the sizing be auto. So then set learn more on this, and go ahead and hide the link on this component so it's not actually clickable. And then we'll go ahead inside the element and we'll drop a clickable component, and that way this entire area is clickable. And we'll go ahead and connect that over to the, so this is going to be the internal link. And for that, it would be a conditional visibility of external link is not set. And then we'll go ahead and drop another clickable. And this one is going to be the external link, and conditional external link is set, like so. Okay, and then screen reader text can just say the name of the category or the name of the item. So we have, if external link is not set, then show this internal link. And then if external link is set, then show the external link here. Cool. And then we just need the hover. So that will be on this. We'll do data trigger on hover and focus so that when I hover the entire card, the arrow moves. And then I can just open this component and I can create a new variant here. And this is going to be link compact. So we'll just duplicate that, compact. And on this one, we want to animate the text essentially. So let's see, I'll get rid of that for a second. I want to set probably the max width is going to be what we're going to want. We'll do a calc, we'll do 0 M, and that's going to be the default state. And then we'll animate it to something like 4M, and that's going to be the hovered state, like so. So I can just animate, and then we might need to do overflow hidden on it. We might need to also do text align this way, and we might need to do breaking no wrap so that it's all in one. And then we'll need to increase that. Instead of 4M, let's go with like 7. And then we need to transition it a lot slower. 800, sure. Let's go even slower. Let's go, why is it not? It still feels really fast, and I think it's just because of the nature of animating max width and having to use larger numbers like this. It's unfortunately just no, because even with that, it's still what could it be? What could it be? Oh, because I'm applying it to transform. Whoops. I'm sure all the comments in chat just now were like calling out the very painfully obvious thing that I did not notice. Oh, and still I'm applying it to the wrong thing. Huh. Finally got it. Knew I'd get it eventually. So then we want to possibly remove this gap, and we'd want to add a little bit of padding, but I can't do padding because then it will collapse. It won't collapse all the way if I do this, so that's not good. Could just move the arrow on hover too. Or I could animate a, just gonna do this real quick. Let's go calc. Let's go 0 rem. And that is the default state. And then we'll do 0.5 rem, and that is the hover state. And then let's see, what did I do? This needs to be times. Cool. And then I'll just transition it like that for now so that the margin and it all animates. Let's go ahead and switch that to link compact. So that way we can have something like that. Okay. I mean, for now, that's going to be fine. I might want to do an in-out ease a little bit more like that and make it a little bit faster because this is like really slow. Cool. That works. And uText style main. The easing. I don't like the easing. Let's go back into that real quick. So that is right on this element. The ease is too harsh. I should have just left it like it was. Which was which one? What was the default? This? Something like that? Let's see. Let's just move that out a little bit. Cool. Might go even faster. There we go. Nice. All right, that works. Cool. So now, let's see. Noah, you posted something. Just pinging this here in case it's helpful for you all. Um, I'll have to check that out. Noah says he might have a working version. What? Dude, I'll have to go check it out and see. Yeah, I know Webflow did this effect with the shadows to create that gap in the middle on one of their like conference sites a while back, and I always wanted to recreate it. Um, so I know there's a way to do it. Cool. All right, so I think that works for that, and then this one's hopefully a much simpler section. Just follows your cursor a bit. So for that, we'll go ahead and duplicate. And this one is going to be the watch, listen, grow. And that can go right here. And then that can be a much smaller font size. And we can do some text here. Oh, like that. Tighten this up a little bit and update that. That's still good, actually. The margin top on this is a little too large. The max width on these two aren't the same either, so I think that's okay. I was trying to see if I needed to make a more unique layout variant to reuse across multiple instances, but that's fine for now. Margin top of 2, and then I'll probably do the same thing here. Or do I want to just make a variant? Maybe I should just make a variant for global edits. So let's do that. Let's do new variant called compact. And then let's switch that over to space 2. That doesn't seem right. Let's go space 3. And so now I can just switch that over to the compact variant, and that way I can edit both later if I need to. And then this one, why is it not aligning to the top or bottom? Is there, I don't think it's a margin issue because the margin should be trimmed. What is going on there? Let's see what's happening here. Let's inspect. Is it that, so this is the layout, this is the column 1, its width is auto, it's got an align self-center on that column 1 on that variant. So funny because it didn't feel like the other one was working that way, but maybe it's because I did, I bet you it is. Yep, sure is, okay. So let's see, that I'm gonna do we want them consistently aligned to the top or to the bottom? Let's do to the bottom by default. I think that would be the most common. So this would be align self bottom, or end, sorry, end. And that way if we have lots of text, it'll, actually not sure if that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's keep it align self start. I think that's better. So now that's fine, and that'll work for this one too, without me having to add an extra class. Cool. And then so we'll have a collection for the media. So let's do that next. Let's drop this in, and this is going to be media underscore wrap, and then we'll go ahead and turn this into a component, CMS media, and that goes in my CMS group and create. And then we'll have a collection, and this is CMS or media CMS wrap. It's going to pull from my navlinks collection. It's going to be filtered to only show elements in the media category, and it will be sorted in the sort order field. And then we can do CMS list and CMS item. And then for these, I think, what do we want to do? Definitely needs to be some kind of grid since they're all aligning the same way. Let's go ahead and do should I make this a card? I don't think I need to make this a card. I'll class it like one, but it's not going to be a component. So this is going to be media card wrap. And we'll have a media card element like so, and we'll go ahead and switch that over like this, and that will be set right here. Nice. And in this, we were going to want a grid. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and do this. So I'm doing flex vertical so that way I can wrap it when mobile when I need. Then I'll switch it over to grid, and I'll go ahead and set the gap to be our site gutter. And then I'll go ahead and do grid template columns, repeat 12 times, min max of 0, 1 FR, like that. So that creates our 12 column grid. And then we want the title here. So let's go ahead and drop in a div, and I'll just call this media card header. And then we'll have an H3 inside, and this is media card title, and we'll connect it to the name. And we'll go ahead and set this header to span over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to do 8 columns. So let's go grid dash column. And let's say span 8, like that. And then we should be good to do media card content, and that should just span 4. Grid column, span 4, like so. And then let's take this and let's just put it inside of the container, like that. And let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and select the element, give it a bottom border. So that's going to be down here. Let's go border width like that. Connect it over to theme text like so. That's on the entire element. Yes. Okay, good. And then in the content, we just need our button component. And we'll switch it over to the link variant, and we'll go ahead and just copy over this text here. Oh, you know what? That is coming from the CMS, so that is going to be description. Yeah, cool. And then we need some padding, 24. And so that would be our space of 4. Like that. And then what else do we have? This is an H1 font size, so we can do that. H1 like that. Anything else? I think this is kind of aligned to the center or to the bottom. Which one is it? It's aligned to the bottom, but you can't really tell with this spacing with the padding around the link. I can try it align bottom and just see. So that means give this width 100% and give this align self of end like that. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, so I mean that works, and then this needs the hover state is very different for those links. I could use a GSAP flip if I want it. It's gonna need it. It's gonna need the hover for sure because of the background pattern. Okay, and then what else? You know what? This is a trick that I do whenever I need to do something like that, and I don't want a library like GSAP flip for just to move an element. Is I'll do something like this. I'll have media card space, and I'll essentially just have a flex like that. And then this will have a width of 0, and then it'll just animate to a width of 100%. Now, to do that, we do need to make sure that this is set to flex shrink 0. I'm going to wrap this in a div. I mean, I don't have to wrap it in a div because I could just add the utility to the button, but I'll wrap it in a div and give that don't shrink or grow. And then we can animate the width on that to just kind of slide it over. And then we'll apply transitions here to width, and we'll make it a bit larger. And so basically we just want to animate this between 0 and 100% width. So if I just do a calc and I do 0% times 1 plus 100% times off, and then it should animate on hover. We just need to go to the element and add the data dash trigger, hover and focus. We want it to do this one, and then it just kind of slides over like so. Only thing is that that arrow is bugging me. I'm not even sure if I'm even going to keep that arrow sliding out as the hover state. You know what? This is going to need a new variant anyway because of the background color. So let's go ahead and do we want a link compact? This is getting dicey. How to name it? We're gonna name it link. It's like a link button, but that's a super confusing name. This is not a great name. Sorry, y'all. Don't judge me. Link fill for now. If anyone can think of a better name, let me know. Cool. And then we'll go ahead and remove the transform off of this so it no longer slides over when we're trying to do that. We'll go ahead and make sure we're switching this over there. So that's good. And then we just need the background color to change on hover, and it needs to fill in. Also probably need some padding. So that is going to be, it's going to need some padding on this side. So something kind of like that. And I could give it some negative margin, -1 rim. And that way it still aligns, even though it's got the padding. And then we would just need to do a color mix here. And we'd want the background color to be transparent by default. Or I wonder if I just put the background color on there, and then maybe the background color is always there and we don't even need to animate it. Let's see. So that would just be a matter of connecting this over to the background. And that way all you have to do is reveal the texture underneath. Let's see. Cool. So let's go back over here and let's detach instance. Sure. Is there something in here? I'm looking for an image and I don't see one. Is it inside of, it's not inside the cursor. Is it inside of this? Nope. Is it inside of, where would that image be? Is it a background image on this? Yes, it is. It is a pattern, 100%. Now, where does it get the color from? Can I just change the color here? No. Where is that color coming from? Let's see. Can I go to main? And let's go to one that is working. like this. So it's it's just a bunch of blue dots in a pattern, and the background behind it is still light, I guess. So let's see. Yeah, that makes sense. But how is he getting the square? Because I'm not seeing that on here, but I was seeing it. How is that working? Because it looks like little squares in the pattern, but I don't see that in this version. Um, hmm. Maybe it's just, maybe that's not maybe there's multiple versions of it somewhere. That one doesn't have a square. That one does not either. Don't know. I'm sure we could create it by just leaving some space around. I can't zoom in. It would be nice to be able to zoom. Let's see. Open that up. Go back over here. Open this up here. All right. So basically, it's something like, oh, there must be another set of lines that are supposed to layer on top this or something. That's what it seems like. Man, is it up here? No. So it's just basically like it's 1, 2, 3, 4 dots, and then it kind of repeats. So maybe we can maybe we can recreate it. I would just need to draw out a dot like so. Nope, can't draw it right there because I'm over a component like this. Can't really, it needs to be a little bit larger. I guess it doesn't matter the size because they're all, well, it does kind of matter because there's a gap. All right, we're just going to make our own real quick. So this will be a gap. This will have radius. This will have a little bit of space. That's going to be hard to do when it's this small. So let's make it much bigger. And then let's go like that. Cool. And like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. Okay. So that is, how much space do I have there? 2. 2. You can just hit, I think you can hit Command D or something to duplicate. All right, so something like that. I'm gonna do, let's do 3. Oops. Wait, why is it scaling? There we go. Try and do 3 in between each one real quick. Yep. And then let's bring this over and it will be 3. Duplicate, can't duplicate. There's a way to do it. Oh well. 3, 3, and 3. So basically it's something like that. And then when it tiles, it's just a little bit extra space in between the tiles. I think that's the way it's made anyway. Could be wrong. How much space would we need? Feel like that's enough to come across as an LED pattern, something like that. So what I would like to do, I think, is upload it as a background image, and that way it can just repeat. But that means we just need to draw a box around here. Something like that. Sure, why not? Cool. And then right there. And then if we can just rotate this and use that same space up here and bring that in there. just trying to create the bounding box for the repeating pattern. Um, cool. And then this goes right here. And this goes right here. All right. So now I should be able to just kind of just draw a box to get the exact sizes. Let's see. Cool. And that should be good there, and go down to there. Send it to the back. Like that, and then delete that stuff. Cool. And then if I can just make a quick frame, and whatever the sizing of this one is, we'll just set the same here. Or honestly, I can just group all this. I don't need the frame. Let's do that, group it, and then I want to export it as an SVG so it can be an image. I want to make sure I'm using the brand color, which is not in here. It's let's see, I should be able to just select it from here, maybe. Libraries, brand 500. There we go. Okay. So now just export it out as an SVG, and that can go in downloads. That can go in assets, and that can go in LED pattern. Sure. Cool. All right, and let's go ahead and upload, and let's go to here. Let's go here, and let's add that in. Cool. And so now I'm going to do I think a div in here. So this will be card media background. And we'll just position it absolute to the full parent, like so, which means parent here needs relative. And we'll go ahead and set that over to 100% width and height. And we'll go ahead and apply a background. Background image here, and we'll go ahead and set the size using rim to be much smaller, like that, something like that. I don't know how big it needs to be. We'll roll with that for now. And then just bring that back over there. Make sure these are position relative so they can sit on top. I feel like the background should be a little bit smaller, so maybe I need to back this down a little bit. Yeah, that's fine. And then so let's go ahead and set the opacity to be off, and then we'll add a transition to opacity so it can fade in, and that way when we hover, it just kind of does that kind of thing. Was it supposed to go all the way to the edge though? No, it's supposed to have a little bit of padding, and the text is supposed to come in some too. So we might need to just animate the padding. Yeah, we'll just need to animate the padding on the element. So let's just go ahead and do 0 rem times on plus how much padding does it have on hover? Is that in here? Let's see. 12. So that should be space 2 times off. And then just apply that same thing on this side and make sure we're transitioning it. Transition, padding. There we are. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think that should do it for that part at least. So now we should have. It would be nice if that pattern just kind of follows you down instead of just being like fade in and out, if it actually slid up and down. So I might need to do that. too, but this is working out, I think. Cool. And then then we have the image, and for that I should be able to use or reuse what we did yesterday. So let's see. We just want that image to be kind of centered within the space. So let's go here. Let's go card media visual wrap and position it absolute to full parent here. Full parent. Set it to pointer events none. Set it to width and height of 100%. And go ahead and set that to flex and center. And let's go ahead and drop in an element here, card visual element. And how do we want to size this? Do we want to do percent or do we want to do a fixed size? I think percent. So that is going to be 222 divided by 1007. 222 divided by 1007 is 22%. And then aspect ratio is going to be 222 by 395. Let's go here. Ratio custom 2.22, 3.95, like that. And then I want a background color for before the image loads in. And I don't think I want the skeleton in this case because of the opacity. So I think we're going to go solid text potentially, or maybe even heading accent. That's fine for now. And then let's do radius of round. Let's do overflow of clip, position of relative, and then we'll have an image inside. And then this is our card visual image, and this is just position absolute, cover the full parent, 100% height and width, and just connect that to the CMS field like so. And then we want the photos to go underneath the text. So that means that this visual would be somewhere around here. And that way the text can be on top. And yeah, and I think that's good for that anyways. And then so now I just need to animate the transform. So I'm just going to pull out what we did the other day with that cursor. In this case, though, the closest example is probably going to be the cards themselves. So let's open that. Let's just copy this and save and close. And we'll just come down here and we'll go ahead and just open up a JS embed. This is an instance because it's pretty much the exact same functionality where I could probably just tie this to data attribute and throw it in site settings instead of trying to do like a custom one-off for each of these. But let's just see. So here we're going to do the media card element. And then for each of them, when we loop through, we want to say, when we hover over this element, we're going to animate the X and Y variables on that element. When we hover out, animate that back to center. And so then we can just use those variables on this visual. So let's go ahead and give this a container dash type with a value of size. And then we can give this that same transform from earlier, transform, and then we'll do translate X and throw in a calc here. And it's going to be 50 container query width times, we'll just throw a number for now, 1. And then, so if it's 1, it's on that side. If it's 0, it should be in the middle. And if it is -1, it's on the other side, like that. And so then we just want to do times, I'm going to start with the variable, times x, like that, and we'll make x fall back to 0 if not set. So that's good. And then we just want to do the translate y here, and this is going to be times 50 container query height. So, and then that will be the y variable right there. And so if we test it, we should have this working. Let's see. Our custom code is enabled. Why is it not? So we're looping through our card media for each. We're setting the x and the y variable on that component. What's going on here? Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Here. So it is working. It's moving x and y. So why is the image not using it? If we go here and we go in here, x is set here, but it's showing 0. And then y here. Oh, I had a typo there, so that's why that one's not working. But I don't know why the x isn't working. Let's click on x. It's saying x is 0, but it's not. Oh, do I not have, let's go see. Visual here. Maybe I need to switch it to block. It should already be block though. So I don't know why that's not working. Translate y. Yeah, it definitely should be working because it's like it's just not getting the variable or something. I don't know. Let's see. There we go. So the x is working, the y is working now, so that is good. And then we can just make it not be. So I think for y, let's see. Yeah, it was. Let me check the visual element. I think instead of using container query width here, because I don't really need it to go to one edge to the other, we will do we want to use M? Let's do, because it's based on the width of the element, so we could probably just do a percentage of the element's own size. I think that would probably be fine. So let's just do 10%, and 10% of y is going to be much larger, so maybe like 5%. Let's just see what that looks like. So let's see what that does. Come on. You know what I might do instead of having a separate, because I never like the way it looks when there's a separate image inside each of these things. I might just have one big image that travels over the whole section, and we dynamically like show the right image inside of that based on what we're hovering. Yeah, so here you can tell it's like it's working. It's just not moving too much now. I just want the move amount to be consistent. So I'm going to do, instead of percentage, we'll keep it based off the container query width for both of them. So if we want to do like 20 and 20, and that way just like the movement amount is consistent for both. Yeah, but I do think I might need to update this and just use one image across the whole thing instead of trying to hide and show an image inside each item. It's probably going to be the better bet. This is just not loading, so let's publish that. Let's see. See if the movement, yeah, the movement, oh wow, it's moving a lot. Maybe too much. Is there like an ease going on? Why is it so bouncy? Oh, because there's way too much movement on the Y, and there's just not enough movement. All right, what we're gonna do, let's just rebuild this the right way, or a better way anyways. We'll do position relative, and we'll go ahead and take the class. This is the card visual wrap. And we'll go ahead and just drop that div right here. And so this is card visual wrap. And then inside we'll have the card visual element, and inside that we'll have an image, and this is going to be card visual image. And then we will set that image to eager load, disable responsive, and that way we can update its source. And then we'll just add a data trigger on this data trigger whenever we hover it, and that way we can reveal this image here on hover. Might want to animate this image. Where's the background color set on this parent though? Let's move that background color over to here. And let's go ahead and just set the opacity on this to being off by default. And let's add transitions to opacity. And so when we hover, it reveals the image inside. And then we want to just grab all of these elements and make sure they don't receive the hover from their parent. So we'll override our trigger to be in the base state. So that way each element still hovers individually. And then we're still revealing that larger image there. So then we just need a, where am I going to add this? We'll just give this like a new class, like source, and then that will be just like a hidden image inside each card, so I can get the source from that card, like that, and I can apply it to this element here, and then that means this needs the container type size again, so kind of just going back to what we had before, and then this would be 50 CQW and 100, or sorry, 50 CQH. And then that will give us one image. I don't know why preview is just not hanging in right now. So let me just publish that. All right, let's just see if that's working. Nope. And we update the JS. So instead of the element, we're looking at the entire media wrap, and we'll apply that variable to the media wrap. Cool. Let's publish that, run it, and we should have, this is going to be so much nicer, I think. And then if I can just fix the z-index issue, the way that we can do that, let's see. This is relative, and it can't be relative. Man, how am I going to do that then? This has to be, let's show this again so we can test it real quick. Just set this opacity back on. Yeah, this can't be relative if we want this to be able to go on top. This can have z-index 1, so, oh wait, no. Okay, so it actually works. It'll work as long as we don't apply a z-index to this element. This element can still be relative, so that's good. Cool, and then we just need to update the image source for each one, so that can be something like, let's go here. Let's see. So basically we're gonna need a loop on the items. I'll use the elements. And the elements inside of this component. So we'll do something like const items equals component dot query selector all items, like that. And then we can do items for each, and we'll go ahead and just loop through those items. And that will be our item like that. And then we can do an item.add event listener. And when we mouse enter that item, then we want to run some code to grab the image of that item. So that is going to be, probably should just save that image. So that's going to be the source here. So for each item here, we'll find the image, and that will be the item.querySelector. And we can just find that source, and we can, I think it can just do src. I think that's right. I'll have to check. And then we just want to find this image here. This is our main image. So we'll do const main image, and that's going to be component.querySelector. And we'll get that main image, and we will go ahead and set the main image source to be the source of this item's image there. See if I got that right. Let's see. Refresh, and yes. Okay, so that's switching. Cool. And then we just want to make sure that the image is only visible when we hover in. So that's just because I forgot to apply this back like so. And we can just test that and see if that works. Might also do like a little scale or something when we reveal it. Yes, cool, nice. It's almost like it would be neat if the image is above all items except the hovered item. So to do that, we would need, I would need it to break out a CSS embed. And we would need something like this. So we're going to have, we'll grab the list. Sure, why not? So we'll say something like, when this list has a direct child, which is an item that is hovered, then we find any direct child that is not hovered. So we're grabbing like all the other items, and we'll go ahead and just, for now, I'm just going to set their background color to red just to make sure it's working. Yeah, so I can hover any item and all of the siblings' background color becomes red. So then we'll just give those siblings a position, relative, and z index of 1. Z index 1. And then that means this visual element will need a z index of 2. And that means that the content here, content, and the header need a z index of 3, like so. And so that we basically the image is only on top of the active item, because this was feeling a little weird how all those tags are just, does not seem right. So let's fix it, and then we should be good. Let's check it. Cool. Nice, so much better and smoother. And then I could make it to where, like, maybe I make it where this card can't actually travel the full width like it is currently. So then it would lag behind. But I think traveling the full height like this is good. Like, that feels comfortable. But maybe it shouldn't need to be able to travel the full width. So to fix that, I would just say don't let it move 50. Maybe it can only move like 40 container query width or something like that. Might even try smaller, but let's see. Yeah, that's feeling more natural already. I might even go a little smaller than that. Let me go modin.js and load this up. And that way I can just start testing it here. Let's open the, where am I? It's not the slider parallax. Oh, I need the JS tab. Am I right here? Let me see. Bring this out a little wider. Yeah, this is, oh, I do need the CSS. It's actually in my CSS where all this is applied. Okay, and it's not in custom CSS either. Okay, I'll back out of that then. I thought I was gonna be able to just tweak this real quick and test the exact value I want. Which I guess I could still do from here. Let's see. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Cool. Yeah, that way it's not like it can't perfectly. I might even back that down more. Let's just test it in here. Let's go inspect. That's going to be on the, where is it? That's the spacer. That's the embed. That's a visual wrap, visual element. Yep, this is where it is. Can I edit this? Why can't I edit? That's weird. Okay, well, I'm just going to do a little bit smaller of a value there. We'll go 20 and we'll call that good. And then let's do, this is opacity. Let's also animate it from a transform. And let's do scale and let's throw a calc and we'll say 1 minus 0.5 and we'll make that on by default. So it's scaled down by default. And then we'll add that same transition that we have on opacity to also be on transform. And let's see. And let's make sure that this is on. There we go. And so now I can hover and it just scales up like that. And maybe we even add, what would a back ease look like if we did something like this and we did something like that? You can barely tell it. Maybe if we made the duration slower. Oh, it's because it's inside of a mask that we're easing it. I think that might actually look okay though. That might be kind of cool looking. Let's see what that does. Oh no, it's not. Okay, so basically I just want the radius to be on this element then. Radius round, and then that way I don't have to apply that to this, and I don't have to apply it to this. Cool. Yep, and that should just kind of scale up. Let's see. That feels better, I think. Scales up a bit, and then scales down. Honestly, I could bring that back to being faster. 200? Sure. Cool. Man, I want to be able to, I might have went a little too extreme. I want to be able to pull it over that tag. You kind of can, depending on how long the tag is. All right. Cool. I mean, that seems to work. Leveling this up for me would look like adding a nice transition between images. So instead of just swapping one image, there might need to be 2 images inside here, and I could do some kind of cool transition. And then taking that background blue piece and making it actually slide down into the next card, I think. But honestly, it might not even need to do that. It looks kind of nice with the instant switch on the background anyway, because it looks like you're just punching out a piece of the background to see the screen underneath. So I might keep that. This, I'm going to take a look back at the comments because I know everyone was sharing some solutions. I might need to take a look back at that and see if I can get that working. But yeah, I think this is looking pretty good. It's in a pretty good spot. Um, and then I mean, I tackled probably the two most challenging sections. So for now, cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for joining the stream. Yes, this will be saved, so you can come back and watch it later.